I was Hattie Usher with Rico from StreetScores, and it's time to take a trip around the national media and check out how Jayden Daniels earned even more respect from the national media and Ravens players after that loss to Baltimore. You're going to hear exact quotes about people saying that he's still winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's leading that race even after a great Caleb Williams game. People are going to compliment the fact that arguably this was a game filled with some of his best throws so far in his career. We're going to take a look at all of that. You even have some Washington Commanders haters like Cowboys fans that are absolutely in awe, and some of them are afraid of Jayden Daniels. And this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting all of the videos, leaving likes, getting in the comment sections. It sucks that we lost Jonathan Allen, but it is next man up. Of course, I will be live streaming this upcoming game against the Panthers, and I will be keeping y'all updated on everything the Commanders have going on, in any injury updates, all of that type of stuff. So stay tuned, and I will be getting those film sessions out to y'all exclusive for channel members only. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Let's get it. Adam. I feel like it's only right to start with the Washington Commanders haters first. I feel like that's the funniest way to go about it. And Skip Bayless tweeted in the middle of the game, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jayden Daniels, Dallas Cowboy nightmare for the next forever." This was before the game even ended, like close to the end. He tweeted this at like 3:30 p.m. And then after the game, he had an entire video worth 1 minute and 10 seconds, literally just titled, "Jayden lived up to his hype." And he basically talked about how leading up to this game is going to be Jayden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. Can Jayden Daniels as a rookie be able to go toe-to-toe with them? And basically, and you know, everybody heard the noise and the expectations of the hype coming into this game. This was supposed to be the best game of the week, and a lot of people are saying that it ended up living up to the best game of the week, because even though the Buccaneers put up 51 points on the Saints, like a lot of people feel like that Commanders-Ravens game was the most highly competitive and the most fun to watch. Just elite quarterback play from both sides, elite strategies from opposing coaching staffs and things like that. But basically, Skip Bayless breaks down the fact that we had all of this hype going into this game, and somehow Jayden Daniels still found a way to live up to it, even after a loss. And a lot of people, including Skip Bayless, are saying that that was not Jayden's fault that they lost that game. If anything, Jayden Daniels is the only reason that we were even in that game relatively. Then you have Tony Romo. He talked about Jayden Daniels. He said he's a future NFL MVP. So he's already putting his name behind the fact that Jayden Daniels will win an MVP at some point at the NFL level. It's not going to be this year, more than likely. I wouldn't put any money on that, but eventually at some point later on down the line, Tony Romo, I mean, you do got to kind of sit back and think about the fact that this guy's only 6 games in, and that's already amazingly enough. Like, a lot of us are saying that he's ahead of schedule, and yeah, you can say that he's ahead of schedule, but there's still certain things that he can work on and improve on, which means that he has room to grow. He's already playing at a top 5 quarterback level. According to advanced stats, he's still the #1 most efficient quarterback in the NFL, even after how Lamar Jackson technically outdueled him, but I feel like more so he just had better talent around him and also went against a worse defense. But you know, that's just is what it is. Either way though, Jayden Daniels, my point is playing at a top 5 level, and the fact that he has room to grow to get even better. Like, this is not the best Jayden Daniels yet, and that's why especially Cowboys fans like Skip Bayless and ex-Cowboys players like Tony Romo should definitely be afraid for their team right now. Because and we're going to talk about the NFC East in another video this week, in the state that they're in right now, how doom and gloom the Cowboys are, the Eagles not sitting too pretty either, and then especially the Giants. I have some advanced stats for that. Make sure you stay tuned for that video later on this week. But either way, you also have Ravens players showing love to Jayden Daniels and the Commanders. So you have Washington Commanders haters. We just discussed that, and then you can also even throw Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith in there, just off of the fact that, you know, previous years he's ignored us, and even when we would do anything positive, he would just pretty much stomp on it and say, yeah, they're gonna eventually mess it up. But he's been on the Jayden Daniels train the entire time, and every time they're on First Take, him and Shannon Sharp, everybody on ESPN, NFL Network, everybody's showing them love, even the people that used to doubt and hate the Commanders. Even Mike Florio of Football Talk has come around on the Jayden Daniels train and is bought in. The Washington Commanders' biggest haters over the past few years, over the I don't know how many years, even those guys absolutely love Jayden Daniels, and they love the Commanders because this is the team that Jayden Daniels plays for, so everybody's buying in, and this is the type of impact that just finding a franchise quarterback can have on an entire franchise team and really an entire city, tri-state area, the whole DMV. Now moving on to the Ravens players love. I went on a whole rant outside of that. We were transitioning to that, but then I just felt like that was necessary to say. You also have the respect of Ravens players, because even linebacker Roquan Smith, Georgia dog, you know what I'm saying? He said, quote, Washington is in good hands with Jayden Daniels. I think the guy is, he's the truth for sure. He can run it, he can throw it, whatever you want. And for him to come into a hostile environment and perform the way he did, I've got much respect for him. He took some licks too. So the guy, I heard he was tough as nails anyway, and even from watching him in college at a couple of games, but he showed that. So much respect and love for that guy. And yes, Washington is in good hands, unquote. And I thought it was funny that he acknowledged the fact that he took some big hits, because guess who was the one that delivered a lot of them? Roquan Smith himself. He basically said, man, I was trying to basically to take his lights out, you know what I'm saying? And he still kept bouncing back and still performing. Not only was he not avoiding the hits, like he would sit tall in the pressure and take those hits from Roquan and deliver a great ball, but even after that, he wasn't shaken up mentally or physically. He would just keep on pushing and still playing at an elite level. So he earned the respect of a guy like Roquan Smith, knowing that, hey, he may be a rookie, but he doesn't play like it. And then even Lamar Jackson, the guy that he was dealing with going toe-to-toe against, he said, quote, I believe Jayden Daniels deserves all the hype he's getting. He played a tremendous game out there. They just came up short. He's been proving it. His rookie season, first 6 games, he's been playing amazing, unquote. And then even after the game, when Lamar Jackson was interviewed, still on the field, like game just ended, and he said, quote, I need that jersey, unquote. Like he really wants a Jayden Daniels jersey, which means that he's trying to get that jersey now before it goes up even higher in value later, which means he believes that Jayden Daniels is going to only grow as a quarterback and become an even bigger household name and an even bigger star, win more games, win playoffs, maybe even win some Super Bowls. So Lamar Jackson, even with him being Lamar Jackson, is seeing like, hey man, this Jayden Daniels kid is serious. I need that jersey. Like he was joking, but he was dead serious. Like I really need that jersey. Like if he wants mine, cool, type of thing, but I need his type of thing. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now let's move on to the rest of the national media. Well, first of all, you have Jamel Hill at 2:43 p.m. Remember, the game didn't end until like 4 p.m. So in the middle of the game, she tweeted, regardless of the outcome of this game, Jayden Daniels is real, in all caps, REAL. I completely agree, man. Just the fact that to go into the Ravens home environment. First of all, the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender. They're arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. Some people will argue they are literally the best team in the NFL. I believe people were having debates after our loss against the Ravens that it was between the Ravens and the Lions, who are the 2 best teams in the NFL. The 49ers are also in that conversation, but they're just a little banged up. But the point is, we went against one of the best teams in the NFL. Again, a lot of people feel like they are the best team. We went against them in Baltimore. Now, granted, it's still in Maryland, but it's still an away game, and you could tell that home crowd affected that game, because I remember vividly at least one play where Jayden Daniels tried to call an audible, and then the rest of the players around him couldn't hear him well enough to where they had to call a timeout. The fans were affecting that game. Now, granted, from my boy George Carmen, who went to the game, he said it was about 70-30, which I'm surprised by. Shouts out to y'all for pulling up and making that home crowd not as dominant. You know what I'm saying? Typically, we've been 95% the other team, the 5% our team, when it comes to especially away games, and even sometimes in our home stadium. For us to go to a Super Bowl contending stadium, even though again it's still in the same state technically, to make it 70-30, shouts out to y'all, but that still is a home environment for the Ravens. It affected us, so shouts out to Jayden Daniels for overcoming that and living up to the hype and even exceeding my expectations coming into that game. It would have been lovely to get a win, but Jayden Daniels was not the reason we lost that game, point blank period. Then you also have Ryan Fowler. He said on Twitter, after the game, the nuances in Jayden Daniels' game are spectacular. Ability to manipulate coverage with his eyes, throwing with anticipation, touch and zip, it's all been outstanding, and he continues to improve. Winning to Baltimore and traded haymakers with a 2-time MVP and a roster in a Super Bowl window. This is year one of Washington laying down their foundation. And that's a great point. I completely agree. I love the fact that he pointed out the fact that, like, there's a distinction here. This is Washington 6 weeks into their rebuild. And these are the Super Bowl contending Baltimore Ravens that just barely almost didn't go to the Super Bowl last year. They arguably, you could say, should have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs last year. They should have been the one in the Super Bowl going against the 49ers. Who knows? Anybody's game at that point. Maybe they win that game just like the Chiefs did. So, I mean, this is a strong Super Bowl contending team, and if anything, they've only gotten better going from last year to this year, plus the same continuity in a lot of different ways. So it's not like they're having to learn each other and you know, gain chemistry with each other like we have been, especially those first couple of weeks. You can just tell we were a very new team, and we still show signs of being a new team, but we're just exceeding expectations at every step of the way. But to go against a complete team like that is definitely Super Bowl or bust mode right now, and to do that in their home stadium, I'm very proud of this entire team. Now, granted, the defense has a lot of things they need to fix. Guys like Olamide Zaccheaus can't drop passes, and even Jayden Daniels, you can't be inaccurate to start the game because it was a hole to climb out of, and we got to get better with the run game, especially even when Brian Robinson's out. There's a lot of ways that we can, you know, still get better, but we're exceeding everybody's expectations for what we had going into week one against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and especially after leaving that Buccaneers game. Then you have Chase Daniel, who's a huge Jayden Daniels fan. He's always, and it's not even just because they have a similar last name, only, you know, just take the S off of Jayden Daniels and you know, and it's Chase Daniel. It's not just because of that, because he does breakdowns of quarterbacks all of the time. He's been hyping up Jayden Daniels even before the draft, and then after this Ravens game, he said, you can't throw it any better. He was talking about the 4th and 8 on the goal line. What was it, like 4th and 6, basically goal line, need to have it play. I mean, obviously we're throwing it, and that throw he made to Terry McLaurin in the corner of the end zone, you couldn't have thrown it any better than that. I mean, just the absolute nuance. That was arguably his best play of the season, I would say, just with the stakes, when we needed it, how we got it, all of that type of stuff. No separation, honestly, from Terry McLaurin, which you can't even really blame him, because how much separation can you get in the red zone just in general, let alone it's 4th and 6, 4th and goal. They know you need this play. They know you need to get it into the end zone, and you're obviously passing it, even just by the formation that we're showing. So, I mean, shouts out to Jayden Daniels for that. But again, going back to Chase Daniel, I'm sorry, I had to gush over the play myself for a little bit. He said you can't throw it any better. Jayden is able to pump the defender and still make the perfect throw versus cover 0. Unreal. And then later on after that, he said, I haven't seen a rookie with the ball placement Jayden Daniels has shown ever. He understands when and where to offset throws like few can do in the NFL. And then lastly, Chase Daniels, even more love, but this was in the middle of the game. He said, he pointed out the fact that on an Austin Eckler play where he threw it incomplete, he said Jayden Daniels purposely dirted a football at the feet of Austin Eckler at the end of the half because he knew it would keep the clock running and it wasn't worth the 1-yard gain. They needed to keep the timeout. This is next level quarterback play we are seeing. His processing is off the charts. Thank you, Chase Daniel, for pointing that out, because I feel like a lot of people missed that. I said it. I acknowledged it during my live stream that I believe Jayden Daniels threw that onto the ground inaccurate to Austin Eckler on purpose so that we can keep the clock going. Because if Austin Eckler, if he throws that to Austin Eckler, he catches it, and like, I would say best case scenario, the most realistic best case scenario, maybe he gains a yard. That's not worth the seconds that we lose there trying to hurry up and score before we go to halftime. So the fact that he threw it incomplete just to live to play another down and keep some of that clock up there, I mean, that's just elite stuff that a lot of veteran, nuanced quarterbacks that have been in the NFL for multiple seasons still don't have a grasp of. So shouts out to him for that. Again, the fact that he's just a rookie 6 games in is insane. I mean, it feels like he's 6 years in. And again, some guys even 6 years in never have done the things that Jayden Daniels is already doing. But before we move on to the rest of the compliments towards Jayden Daniels from the national media, and then we got to get into this quarterback draft overall, Caleb Williams and Drake May and all of that. Before we get to that, just to let you know, this show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, of course, man. And if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast. I know I do, so I know y'all do as well. And right right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE 150. They also have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, so it's really like, why not? Now let's take a look at some interesting bets that we can get into, some good bets that we can get into directly through their website at betus.com. So I wanted to get a little interesting here. We're not going to keep doing the, same typical bets that we usually do during the week and things like that. I wanted to get a little creative. So this one, we're looking at some football props between the Commanders and the Panthers for this upcoming game. And as you can see on the screen right now, you could bet first half wise when the first half ends, when we hit 0-0-0 at the end of the second quarter and we're going into the halftime tunnel, what do you feel like the score will be in comparison to the other team? Do you feel like the Panthers will be winning by 1 to 3 points? Do you feel like the Commanders will be winning by 1 to 3 points? Do you feel like the Commanders will be blowing them out? Do you feel like the game will be tied? There's all sorts of solutions, all sorts of options here. So just say, for example, if you wanted to bet that the Commanders will be winning by 13 or more points by halftime, if you put down $100 on that, you could get $200 back. And I know that's a pretty big gamble right there, but that could double your money if you believe the Commanders can just go ahead and blow the Panthers out before we even get to halftime, like we did against the Browns, like we should have been doing against the Cardinals. If you believe that we could do the same thing that we did to the Browns against the Panthers, this may be a good bet right here. You could put in $100 and get $200 back. But how about another option? If for some reason you feel like maybe the Ravens game was overwhelming, maybe we come out slow against the Panthers after going through so much against the Ravens, maybe you feel like by halftime we are tied with the Panthers. If you put $100 on that, you can end up winning $900 in return for making that bet. So whatever logic you see fit, again, you have all of those different options that you can go after. If the Panthers are winning by a certain amount of points, you have several different options for that. If the Commanders are winning by a certain amount of points, you have a lot of different options for that. And also, of course, if you feel like they can tie at halftime, you can put $100 down there and end up winning $900 in return, man. I'm telling you. And again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE 150. But of course, I'm always going to emphasize this. Please, if you don't do anything else, please gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to this video, man. So you have Nico at Elite Takes on Twitter. He said today should go down as a success for the Commanders. A lot of hot teams have gone into Baltimore and been torn to shreds lately. Jayden continues to impress as life gets harder. And that's a great point. Some people have gone to Baltimore and just can't win. Remember, Lamar Jackson, I think, has only lost 1 game to the entire NFC conference his entire career or something. I think he's like 22-1, something crazy. At least within the past couple of years, past few years, or maybe his entire career, I think he's only lost to an NFC team once. It's ridiculous, and it's crazy too, because I believe it was the Giants in 2022 when they caught them lacking. Similar to how the Raiders ended up beating the Ravens. The Ravens had no business losing to the Raiders this season. It was like a similar situation against the Giants, I think, back 2022. Other than that, Lamar Jackson doesn't lose against NFC opponents, especially at home. He just doesn't do that. And shouts out to the Commanders for giving them the best fight they've had in a long time. Again, you even have Ravens players, even Ravens fans saying like, man, that was something. See, that Commanders team earned our respect. Like, salute. We've been getting some salutes online on Twitter from Ravens fans and things like that, and that's cool, man. You also have Derek Klassen. You have at QB Class with a K. He said Jayden Daniels has made some serious throws over the middle today. His best showing of the year in that regard. So specifically, one of the knocks against Jayden Daniels coming out of the draft is that he never throws over the middle. Even though I never really understood that, because I can pull up several highlights of him throwing over the middle quite a bit. Now, granted, maybe he didn't throw it over the middle to the same capacity as some of the other draftable quarterbacks like Caleb Williams and guys like that, but he still threw it. People acted like he just never threw over the middle. But at the same time, I can see what Derek is saying here, where it's like, man, this guy lived in the middle against the Ravens. A lot of his best throws were over the middle, and so it's kind of like, you know, when you're watching him going from college, when you're watching him go game to game, and defenses are trying to figure out, yo, what is this guy's weakness? What is he not good at? What can we allow him to do so that we can stop these other things? And there's literally nothing left almost. When you're talking about what he's already great at, deep ball fades to the corner of the end zone, using his legs, you know, that's stuff that even coming out of LSU he had. But then coming out of LSU weaknesses wise, there was a problem where as soon as he starts scrambling, he tends to just keep running. He doesn't look up to throw. We've already seen him do that at an elite level already these last few weeks. He didn't really do it the first 6 quarters, but as we started that second half against the Giants game, from there on to now, he's been doing it very well, arguably at an elite level. I mean, we all saw that Terry McLaurin throwing a run 55 yards down the field against the Browns when it was nothing left going. Free rushers, avoided the pressure. It was, I mean, there was literally like Brian Robinson did everything he could, but just that was the elite stuff there. Then throwing over the middle was one of his weaknesses. And he had a lot of different weaknesses. I haven't seen them come up at the NFL level. He's making it look like it's easier in the NFL than it was in college, which is amazing. Then you have Jacob Nyrob at JNIEROB on Twitter. He said, easily the best game as a passer from Jayden Daniels in his young career. He's already one of the best all-out ball throwers in the NFL, and I love that too. Now, that isn't particularly like a Jayden Daniels weakness coming out of college specifically, throwing out routes, but typically a lot of quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, really struggle throwing out routes. A lot of defenses, when you're like a rookie or a young, inexperienced quarterback, a lot of defenses don't even cover the out route. They're like, you can throw those all you want, we dare you, because a lot of quarterbacks are either too nervous to throw it, or they don't have the accuracy and timing to throw it, or they don't have enough arm strength to get it there in time. Remember Kirk Cousins, a lot of the pick sixes that he threw, I remember vividly against the Falcons, I think in overtime, was an out route, because a lot of quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins that don't have the arm strength to zip it there immediately, that gives the cornerback time to react to the receiver making a break back towards the ball, but going out of bounds wise, you know, out route, not necessarily an in route, and they have enough time to recover and end up getting an interception there. And so Jayden Daniels is like a beautiful mixture of, like, he has all three things you need to be a successful out route thrower, and that's why probably the middle of the field was a little bit more open to him, because typically if he couldn't throw out routes like a lot of quarterbacks can't do, even a lot of veteran well-seasoned quarterbacks just can't throw out routes consistently and very well, they're just gonna, you know, you cover the middle of the field, dare you to throw it there, and because we're gonna stack that area, and then just basically we dare you to throw it to the outside. We just dare you to even think about trying it, because you know that you can't. Whereas Jayden Daniels can, so now he's spreading defenses out. They have to stay honest, be disciplined, and cover the entire field, horizontally and vertically, because he can take deep shots, and he's also willing to throw it underneath to running backs if he goes through his reads and nothing's open. He's playing at a level to where defenses really have no exact answer against them. It's just up to Jayden Daniels, honestly, to make the mistake, because it's really not much a defense can do. I think every defense we've played so far has tried different things towards Jayden Daniels, and he's passed the test every time. He may struggle a little bit in the beginning, and then after a while he adjusts. He's like, okay, that's what they're doing, that's what they're good at, okay, this is what I'm gonna do in return. I love it. Then you have ESPN, you have Ryan Clark, you have Marcus Spears up there, Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky, all of those people, and they were all praising Jayden Daniels immediately after the game when they were giving their coverage of the game. And of course they talked about the Ravens and how elite they look, and they look like arguably the best team in the NFL right now, but they also gave Jayden Daniels his praise. Like, even Ryan Clark talked about how Jayden Daniels is developing his game by playing through adversity. He said, quote, raising the level of excellence in play is what we've seen each week from him, unquote. And that's a notable thing. The fact that he's still getting better and better and better, especially at like specific things, but also just overall, you could argue he had his best game against the Ravens. Maybe not statistically, but when it comes to like in context, like the defense he had to go up against, the fact that he was in the Ravens stadium where they had the home field advantage, and again, he was struggling to even change like play calls at the line of scrimmage and things like that, because the rest of his team couldn't hear him, and like just with the certain conditions that were laid out, you can argue that this was Jayden Daniels' best game. The high degree of difficulty of some of the throws he made, some of the reads that he made, the way that he was getting blasted by Roquan Smith, sometimes having to stand tall in that pocket and take a hit to deliver a good ball for a first down. I mean, that is like, and then if you can we just say talent-wise, even just ignoring defensive scheme, talent-wise, that was the most talented defense we've gone against all season. And then also on top of that, the Ravens did the best job at taking away our run game out of any team so far in the NFL that we've played against this season, by far. Not even close compared to our previous 5 opponents. And so the fact that he overcame that as well is elite stuff. Then you have Daniel Jeremiah. He said, the Washington offense is a joy to watch on tape. Creative Cliff plus poised Jayden is a beautiful thing. Appreciate the compliment there. Then you have Ben Fennell at BenFennell_NFL on Twitter. He said Jayden Daniels can create and extend with the best of them, but also showcasing a timing, rhythm ability as a passer is the lethal combo of it all. He also shows a clip of Jayden Daniels delivering some really good passes. He talked about 2 beautiful third down conversions from the game, right read and decision, and good accurate throws. Back foot, ball out. I love it, man. Shouts out to Ben Fennell for not only giving compliments towards Jayden Daniels, but also showing a clip as an example of what he's talking about. Then you have Robert Griffin III. He compared their stats, Lamar Jackson to Jayden Daniels, as far as passing yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, rushing yards, all of that type of stuff, and passer rating. Lamar Jackson ended up with a 114.7. Jayden Daniels right behind him with a 110.3. Toe to toe. That's what we wanted coming into that game, and we got a lot of that. He also said both won from inside and outside the pocket in their own unique way. They lived up to the hype. So Robert Griffin is saying that both quarterbacks showed up, and that's including Jayden Daniels. Then you have Jordan Schultz. He said there might not be a player more happy to be with Jayden Daniels than Terry McLaurin. That boy Terry McLaurin had 2 touchdowns against the Ravens. You know he already has as many touchdowns this season as he had all last season. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury deserves a lot of credit for that. I feel like Terry McLaurin, of course, deserves credit for that. But the biggest difference is that he has a franchise quarterback, an elite franchise quarterback. Ignore the whole rookie part. Even if Jayden Daniels was a rookie or not a rookie, he's playing at a top 5 quarterback level regardless. And I agree, Terry McLaurin's probably the happiest player. I just said that a couple of weeks ago, that Terry McLaurin's probably even happier than us fans are. Then you have Jayden Gruden. He brings up an interesting point. He said, anyone think Ben Johnson regrets turning down the Redskins job? Even though they lost, Jayden is the man. Sorry, Commanders. Now, this was, I believe, before the Lions put the absolute whipping on them Cowboys, like an absolute throttling. Now, I don't think Ben Johnson regrets not going to the Commanders. I just feel like it's more so he had great options either way. Either you go to the Commanders and you coach up Jayden Daniels and you have a better quarterback than Jared Goff, or you stay with the Lions and have a better overall offense to coach up, because the Lions have more talent than us right now, I feel like, overall, but Jayden Daniels is the better quarterback. So I feel like really Ben Johnson couldn't lose there, but I see Jay Gruden's point. Then you also have Richard Sherman. He said there was some cool plays being run by the Washington Commanders. I don't know if I've seen some of these concepts ever, like a flea flicker screen or a fake swing screen to a tunnel screen. Love to see new things in this game. So Richard Sherman is complimenting Cliff Kingsbury's creativity. And yeah, there were a couple of plays against the Ravens that I think I've never seen even at the college level before, because the flea flicker, I don't know if y'all noticed, but Jayden Daniels handed it off to like Jeremy McNichols, I think, initially, and then like Austin Eckler was blocking, and then Jeremy McNichols gave it back to Jayden Daniels, and then Jeremy McNichols stepped in the block, and then Austin Eckler went underneath to catch the pass. It was some crazy, like, what was that? How did y'all even know that might work type of thing? Just insane creativity from Cliff Kingsbury, and the fact that it works more times than not. It's not perfect. It doesn't work all of the time, but it works more times than not. I'm loving what I'm seeing from this team. Now moving on, and let's include the entire really rookie quarterback class right now in this discussion to finish out the video. Going back to Jordan Schultz, he said, instead of debating, let's just say this: Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels are both incredible, and the NFL is lucky to have both of them. It's really that simple. I don't know why people are still constantly comparing Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. Honestly, it's not even people. It's really just Bears fans more than anything else. Commanders fans are chilling. We're happy with the quarterback we have. We haven't had a quarterback like this in a long time, if ever, really. And I don't know. It's not all Bears fans, because I have a personal friend that's a Bears fan that's cool. He's giving us props. He's excited about Caleb. We're on the same wavelength. But I don't know, for some reason, there's a lot of Bears fans on Twitter that just, are constantly comparing Caleb Williams to Jayden Daniels. They were just so excited that Caleb Williams had more touchdowns than Jayden Daniels yesterday, even though Caleb Williams went against a worse defense. And you can still argue that, like, efficiency-wise and advanced stats-wise, Jayden Daniels arguably arguably still had the better day, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and do this. Then you have Frank Schwab at Yahoo Schwab. He said, it's arguable Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels are already the best combo of quarterbacks to go 1 and 2 in the draft in NFL history. And then he goes on to explain that in a video that's 39 seconds long, but that's only a clip of his whole entire show. So if you want to see him break down why he feels that way, make sure you go check him out on Twitter, and then it takes you to his podcast and everything. That's at Yahoo Sports. Then you have at Washington Comms. I completely agree. This is a UK Washington Commanders fan. He said, first person to reach out to Drake May after he learned he was starting was JD5. Our star is a class act. I completely agree, but thank you for bringing up that fact. The fact that Jayden Daniels was the first person to reach out to Drake May once he found out that Drake May was starting in that game. They ended up losing that game, but Drake May showed some potential there. But again, Jayden Daniels to go out of his way to do that is insane stuff, man. So shouts out to him. Also, you have Darius J. Butler on the Pat McAfee show saying that Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, and Drake May will all go down as the greatest 1, 2, 3 quarterback draft picks in NFL history. We're already on that wavelength, and they were doing their bit on their show, their segment. I don't want to overreact, but it's a whole 1 minute and 10-second clip, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of those people on there weren't necessarily disagreeing too hard. They were kind of like, you may have a point type of thing. Hey, man, so at the end of the day, I'm really happy to have Jayden Daniels. Between the three, I would still prefer Jayden Daniels right now, just based off of what I've seen so far, and also just the fact that I think Jayden Daniels has the higher ceiling just off of the fact that he can run faster than everybody else, and then he's also doing the other things that those other guys do very well as well, and he's staying healthy, knock on wood and all of that. So I'm still happy that we have Jayden Daniels over the other three. If I could go back and change it, if we had the number 1 overall pick, I would take Jayden Daniels. But all three are going to be great. We would be happy with either of the three. I just feel like we're happiest with Jayden Daniels. That's my only point there. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content, man. I really appreciate y'all. Do not leave this video without still farming that like button. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about Washington Commanders haters showing love to Jayden Daniels, Ravens players showing love to Jayden Daniels immediately after the game. All of the different national media people that are, they used to hate on the Commanders. Now they love us because of Jayden Daniels. They love Cliff Kingsbury, and how that narrative is also another 180 because a lot of people hated the Cliff Kingsbury signing, and now everybody loves it because he's balling out with Jayden Daniels. Let me know how you feel about all of it, and also how you feel about the whole Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May thing, about how all of these quarterbacks may end up being great. You may even be able to throw Bo Nix in there because he's had a couple of good games as well. So let me know how you feel about all of that. Of course, I'm going to try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible. And also, remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Please make sure you gamble responsibly. I'm going to catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.